Bruce Trail, 900 kilometers, unsupported, FKT. If you guys want to hear about my experience, stick around to the end because that's what this video is going to be about. So today is a special day today. It's my birthday. I'm 32. And yeah, as of like 2 days ago, it's official. Like my name's on the FKT site. We got the fastest known time, like job's done. So it was a crazy experience, man. Holy, like, I put so much work into this, like just the training alone. I went to the Adirondacks every weekend. Like that one weekend where I did the Bob Marshall Traverse, it was like 16 high peaks, 16,000 feet of climbing in a day. Like just insane things that I did just to prepare myself for this Bruce Trail. And I'm thankful I did it, man. Like, the Adirondacks is probably the toughest training grounds there is. Like, it's super rocky. You're going uphill, and then on tired legs, now you got to go down the hill. Like, it's not easy. And, like I said, for the Bob Marshall Traverse, the reason why it was so hard is because I'm doing 16 high peaks in a day. Like there's nothing easy about that. Very rocky. And, at the time, whenever I went, it was very muddy. So it was like the rocks are super wet and slippery. And it prepared me for the Bruce Trail. Like the Bruce Trail is super rocky. Like I still can't feel my feet. It's been over a week. Like it was insane, man. So yeah, let's start right on day one. So day one, Franny dropped me off at the southern terminus. And I remember it was a sad moment because I was leaving her and she had a 5.5 hour drive back home by herself, which she doesn't do very often. Usually I'm driving. So I couldn't really relax until she was back home. It was raining too. So it was raining, it was dark, it was 3:15 in the morning, and saying bye to the person I love most and taking off for an adventure that I knew was going to be super, super long. So yeah, I remember the first 20K, it was my shorts, the liner that was in my shorts actually carved a like 2 lines right in my groin area, and I remember I was in a ton of pain, and it just was not a very good way to start. And I remember I was wearing socks in the beginning and my feet blistered up, and yeah, it was just like one of those moments where it was like, frig, if I would have started a day later, I would have been more comfortable, because it was like literally sunny and beautiful for like 6 days in a row. But, I was pretty determined. I told the FKT website, I told everyone I was going to start on the 9th, and I did. So I don't have any complaints. Like, it is what it is. It was just like not the best way to start an expedition. It was just like raining, and I'm starting off chafed and blisters. And so the first day was kind of rough, and the backpack's 52 pounds. So I went into day 2, and it was really sunny and hot and sticky, and my groin was on fire. I ended up at this point wearing a pair of shorts with no liner, and I wasn't wearing any boxers. So I was just kind of free solo down there. And I ended up healing quick. Like, honestly, those shorts kind of saved my expedition. I wore those shorts with no liner, no underwear for about 4, maybe 5 days. And then I wasn't wearing socks either. I brought like 3 pairs of socks, 4 pairs of socks, but I just found socks retained too much moisture, and my feet were constantly wet, and that would cause blisters. So I was not wearing any socks. Keep in mind, I didn't have any experience doing these multi-day adventures till this summer. Like my coach told me, he's like, you're like, whenever I told him in December or January of this year, beginning of the year, I told him, like, yeah, I'm gonna do the Bruce Trail. He's like, you don't have any experience doing that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, you don't know me, sort of thing. Like, I'll make sure I got the experience. Anyways, he heard it in my voice, and I think he believed in me. And then we made a game plan and went from there. But reality is, like, I never did any more than a weekend. So I was out on the Bruce Trail, and every morning I'm like dressing up my feet, taping up my toes, and just trying new things every day. And I think by day 6, day 7, I kind of like had a routine, and I kind of figured out what to do with my feet, and I realized what was good and what wasn't. But yeah, I was just learning on the fly, man. I was learning out there. Like it was pretty entertaining. So day 1 and day 2 were probably my longest days. Also because I did that part of the trail back in April. I did like 150K back in April. And so I knew that trail, and I remember, where I saw Franny. And so like whenever I was on the trail by myself, I was in these areas where it's like, oh man, I remember back in April, like I ran into Franny here, and it was just like, so you're constantly reminded there that you're going to be without her for 2 weeks. And yeah, seeing the same trail again. So the first couple days were rough, and 50 pounds on my back. But I just put on the tunes. Like first few days of that expedition, I was listening to music just to kind of drown my thoughts. But we got through it. And you know what? The reality is, actually, the first 2 days I put in such a big effort. That's kind of where I got ahead of the previous record holder, Jameson. Jameson on the first 2 days, I think he did 52K, and then he did like 43K or something like that. And both days I did 65K my first day, and then I did 62K. So like I was already ahead, and it kind of gave me a bit more room to breathe. So every day I was just like, I had on my phone a list of how many kilometers I did per day, and I just made sure I just did more than him, which helped me in the end. So stick around to the end to hear that. So day 3 to, honestly, man, like basically the whole expedition, it went flawless. It really did. I had to call my coach there at the end, and I told him a couple things that went wrong, and he's like, dude, it's just like, it's 2 weeks. Like that's to be expected. And he's like, you did it, man. And it was flawless. And I kind of realized, I'm like, yeah, I did it. I did get the FKT. It's like, what am I talking about? But, there's always room for improvement. And I think anyone that does anything in life, it's like, if you think you're the best, and like, it went so good, and then you're like, there's nothing to work on. It's just like, well, it's just like, you got something coming, man, because like, that's what life's all about. Like you're always going to improve. You're always going to get better. There's always ways to tweak things and make you, do things at your best. Anyways, so day 3 to I'd say basically to day 11, maybe even 12. Yeah, I had like 2 days. Besides the first day, I had like 2 days in that stretch where like it was raining. One day it rained really hard. It was cold too, so I had to be careful with, dropping into hypothermia and stuff. I had to keep moving. And whenever it's cold like that, you have to drink water. That's where, if you drink water, it's like your body, everything in your body is actually moving correctly. And like, that's actually what's going to keep you warm: eating, the nutrition, and hydration. So if you're ever doing any winter hikes or anything like that, it's like you're best to keep hydrating. I know you probably feel like, oh, it's cold, like I'm not sweating, and so you don't have to drink as much, but it's like, if you want to stay warm, drink water. So that's what I was doing, drinking a ton of water on that day, and I was moving. And that was the only day. It was like right before Owen Sound. That's where it was kind of like a little rough. But every other day was beautiful, sunny. It was hot. Like I do well in the heat. The trail was so well marked too. Like I honestly I never got lost. Like even whenever I was getting up at 3 a.m. every day, moving till about 8:39, and I had no issues in the dark, in the daytime, like especially with the Bruce Trail app. And then I was using Gaia Maps too. And on Gaia Maps, I had actually Jameson's route. So I was kind of like following his route too. So both apps really did well. And it was like really the only time it really got interesting was at the end. So at the end, and I'm sure you guys have heard it now on a few, like on the podcast and my previous posts, but basically what happened was I packed 13 days of nutrition, and this whole trip took me 14 days and 30 minutes. So basically I went into the 15th day. And so I was in Warrington, and I was about 200K out, and I had my last dehydrated meal there. And then I had 1 bag of food left. And, the Bruce Trail, like, it's super technical. And especially that last Bruce Peninsula section, like, it's rocky, it's hard. And I had 1 bag of food left. So I had close to a 50-hour push. I did close to 150 kilometers. and I had one bag of nutrition left, and I didn't even have a dehydrated meal. So I had maybe 3,000 calories on me, and yeah. So I in the 14th day, no, 13th day, yeah, I pushed hard, went overnight, and I just remember like, yeah, my body's hurting, and I was taking my time out there and stuff, and like, I was mentally getting pretty defeated, but I was still moving, still pushing. And then I went to the next day, and oh my God, whenever the sun started coming up, that's whenever I was really struggling. I was really sleep deprived. I didn't sleep much, man, the whole 2 weeks. Like, I was lucky if I got 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night. So now you're 2 weeks into an expedition. You're lucky if you get 2 to 3 hours of sleep every night. You've moved 800 kilometers, and now you just went overnight. I was really, really tired. I was like, oh my God, I kept taking dirt naps, like 2 minute. I would set my alarm on my phone for 10 minutes and put it on my chest. And it was crazy because I'd always wake up and I had 6 minutes left on the alarm. So I'd like literally like lay down, close my eyes, 2 minutes out, get up, keep moving, do another 2 hours. And I would do that. I took maybe 4 or 5 dirt naps, I called them, micro naps, where it was just like just to lay down, reset, get back up, keep going. And then whenever the day started coming, the sun, man, gives you life. I'm telling you, it's like it doesn't matter if you slept or not. It's like the moment the sun comes up and you're moving, it feels like a new day, and you feel totally recharged. So I was moving well, moved slow, moved well though, and it really, whenever it got interesting is whenever it was getting later, and I realized, okay, I got 15, 20K left, which doesn't sound like a lot, but 15, 20K, and it's super rocky, crazy, technical trail. Yeah, it got hard. So it got dark, and I remember I was texting my wife. They're already waiting for me, and I told her, I'm like, I'll be done around 10 p.m. It wasn't 10 p.m. I ended up finishing at like 4 in the morning. It was crazy, man. I had like 15K left, and I'm like thinking like, oh, I'll be there soon. Even though I did this trail before, like literally 2 weeks before, with Seb, we were on fresh legs, and it was daytime. We were pumped to be there. So we're like, I kind of totally forgot how technical it was, but like, in Tobermory, it's very rocky, and I had no problems navigating at night whenever, like, throughout the whole trail. But then in Tobermory, it's so rocky, and you're on these rock beaches, and they have these trailblazes where that's how you how you follow the course, is these trailblazes. And these trailblazers were not usually they're on the trees, so you could see them with your head torch like from the distance. But now they're on the rocks. So, and then there's cliff edges, and the rocks are like boulders like this. So you're stepping on this stuff, twisting your ankle, like rolling your feet and stuff. Like it's really hard. And I'm navigating, but I'm also didn't eat all day at all, and I didn't sleep the night before. So it's like I was 47 hours in to this, and with no food. Like, I remember I was definitely hearing things for sure. Like, I was hearing Cody. I was hearing like the craziest things, and I was seeing stuff, and I remember like just having to slap myself in the face. I'm like, Taylor, like, focus, I'm like, I had to really, really coach myself into completing it, because it got to the point where I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm it's actually tight. It's gonna be tight right to the end here. Like, I didn't realize it. I thought I had a lot of time to play with there, but like, if I didn't pick it up, if I would have just decided, oh, I'm gonna sleep and I'll finish it off tomorrow, the next day, it's like I wouldn't have got the FKT. So I had to keep pushing, and I'm happy I did, man. I beat him by 5.5 hours, and I had an extra 8 kilometers. It's like it came up to 908 kilometers. So I know I had a couple of course detours there, because some of the course there's trail closures. So yeah, I had a few extra kilometers, which 8 kilometers doesn't sound like a lot, but it's like 8 kilometers, like, especially at the end of the race there, like, figure 1 kilometer at one point was taking me 30 minutes, and it wasn't just because I was so tired. It was just because like the course was super technical. And yeah, anyways, so get to the end, finish up, most beautiful experience ever. My parents were there, my wife was there, haven't seen them in 2 weeks. You know, the craziest thing was that like the 2 weeks, it didn't feel like 2 weeks. It felt like one long day. And I remember I showed up and like I had a beard. Like I never grew a beard in my life. I had like this stupid ass looking beard, and then I was 20 pounds less. I lost 20 pounds. Like I didn't have a scale. I don't know the exact number, but I'm gonna go with 20 pounds because whenever I came back home, it was like 2 days after, and I already ate a ton of food. Like man, one day I ate like 8 chocolate bars, you know, and all kinds of other food, and I was still 15 pounds less from whenever I left. So, you know, 15 pounds less 2 days after the expedition. I could even lost more than 20 pounds to be honest, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with 20 pounds. I was tiny, and you know, the only like I only lost all that weight from the last day of the expedition where I didn't eat. You know, like otherwise, like I felt the whole expedition, I felt super strong. You know, I've had people uh, message me and reach out to me being like, you know, I saw in your eyes, like it was just like at any moment you could have broke, but you pulled through. It's like, you know, I'll be honest with you, like I was so prepared for this that I was strong the whole way through. Like even whenever I didn't have any food, like the only reason why I would have had to stop is because I didn't have any food left. But I mean, like if I had more food and the trail was another 500 kilometers, like I could have kept going. Like I was totally prepared for this, and I'm built for this. And you know, like I've obviously mastered the mindset of, you know, pushing through. I've done it over and over and over again with everything I do in life, and it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing to experience, like because you know the only limitations you have is up here, and I've realized it, man. Like my entire life, like I've always like was I knew that there's always more in the tank. I knew that there's always more to give, and yeah, this run, like this whole Bruce Trail thing, I was just like, that was just an experience I'll never forget, man. Because yeah, it's just like I proved it to myself again. And you know, I get back home, and it's crazy because to me it's just like, oh, it's just another adventure. Like, you know, it's my new normal. It's like, what's next, you know? But then I get back home and people are reaching out to me. Like we went to the triathlon the next day, and everyone in the people in the race were congratulating me and stuff. And I think that's whenever I realized, I'm like, yeah, you know, maybe what I did was actually pretty crazy, and it was pretty wild. But again, man, it's I was prepared for it. You know, I think anyone could do that. Anyone could do anything. It's just I chose to work for that, and I chose to do that, pursue that. You could do anything you want, man. If you want to run a successful business, it's like you could do it. If you want to be a rock star and play in front of thousands of people, you could do it. Um, yeah, it's just that this is just yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just a loss of words. Like it was a very emotional experience. I was all over the place with my emotions. I was crying, I was laughing, you know, I was hallucinating, talking to myself. Like I felt human, man. And I'll say it over and over and over again because, you know, when I'm back at home and I'm going through the daily emotions, you know, you're doing the same routine. Sometimes you kind of forget what it feels like to feel human, you know? Sometimes we're just like we get into like this robot stage where it's just like you go to work, you come back, you get a lift in, you come back, you eat, you sleep, you know? It's like, but whenever you're out in the trails and it's just like you got nothing to think about, nothing to do except for just one step forward, you know? And magic happens, man. Something happens out there and changed me as a person. And every adventure I do, it's the same thing. It's like I come back and I appreciate things so much more. Like, fuck, man, I just love my wife that much more. I just sitting here talking to my camera. I'm just appreciating this moment, being able to do this, you know? Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. So yeah, anyways, and then my gear, everything held up. There was, my shoes were falling apart, towards the end, but like, honestly, I did 250K. I did the Tobermory section before attempting the whole thing with those shoes. And then I did the 900K. So I did over 1,000 kilometers with those shoes, and they held up. They were great. Backpack, the stitching was falling apart, my straps, but again, didn't fall apart. Everything was good to go. I had different chapters that I called in my expedition. One was the reality check. I remember like one day I thought my toe was infected, and this was like day 4 or day 5, and I realized like, well, you know, anything could happen. Like it could be a toe infection that takes you out of this race, you know, but none of that happened, thank God. And then I had another chapter, adapt and overcome, I called it, and that was it, man. It was just like my backpack was falling apart. Okay, well, what are you gonna do if the stitching falls apart? What are you gonna do? I brought fishing line, I brought a sewing needle. We'll stitch it up. We'll get her going. No big deal. Day 3 or day 4, whichever day it was, my back started chafing. I realized on the last hour of that day, and took my shirt off, aired out for the night, woke up the next morning, taped my back, tape held the whole time, no problem, adapt and overcome. You know, little things that would happen that would stick in your mind. Like you'd think about it for hours. You know, it's like 'cause you're out there, you have nothing else to do. So it's like, you know, you think you have this toe infection, well, you think it's a toe infection, and you'll think about that for hours. So like, what are you gonna do about it? You know, you can't let that affect your expedition. So again, man, it's just like I had these moments of like weakness, I guess you could call it. And yeah, we learned how to adapt and overcome and to keep pushing through. So made me tough, man. Made me tough mentally. Yeah, I think that's about it, man. Honestly, the expedition went flawless. I don't know how else to say it, man. It was like I was prepared, and I had all the right gear, and yeah, I had the right coach, Reza Hab. Thank you so much, man, for you know, just guiding me to all the right gear. And you know, when I was in Atacama, like he's raised the reason why I did this Bruce Trail. He's like, yeah, check out the Bruce Trail, it's 900K. And you know, that's whenever I was like in the Atacama Desert, I'm like, wow, like 900K Bruce Trail going for like an FKT. Like, yeah, it stuck with me, man, for days and days and days and like months. And you know, I was sleeping every night thinking about it. Like this, I became obsessed with this, you know. So the fact that it's done and we got the FKT, we brought it home, Cornwall. I'm super stoked about it. Yeah, I'm proud, man. Super proud. And I can't thank you guys enough for all the support and all the love. Man, it was crazy. Like I was out in the Bruce Trail, and because they talked about me on CBC News, people from all over the area, every day I had people tracking me down, taking pictures of me, asking to take pictures of me. I had one lady, she's like, can I shake your hand? It's like, of course, like, you know. It was just a really cool experience. And yeah, man, we brought it home. So for the rest of the year, people keep asking me what's the plans for the rest of the year. We're going to, Farron and I, we're going to push the new normal gear. We're actually heading to Toronto this weekend. We want to find clothes that are made in Canada, you know, that we're super proud of. There might be a bit of a price tag on the clothes, but I have no problem charging premium prices if the clothes are made in Canada. So that's what the goal is. We're going to push the new normal gear, and I will be thinking about what's next in terms of my adventures, but for sure every year we're going to do something big. Like I'm built for this, man, and I love it, and I love the adventures, like I really do. And you know, if I'm going to preach new normal, well, I better friggin' do some crazy shit, right? So that's it, man. We're going to take the rest of the year off, Farron and I. Well, you know, I'm going to take the rest of the year off from doing crazy stuff like that, but still going to train, still going to work out, obviously. But yeah, push the new normal, and yeah, just get involved with the community some more, you know. Like I love my city, man, Cornwall. I love this place, and everyone's supporting us, and we love giving back, you know. We did the charity run this year for Alexander Park. Yeah, man, life's good. Nothing to complain about. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening to me ramble on about my Bruce Trail. Just really happy, grateful. 32 with a course record on the longest marked trail in Canada, longest and oldest marked trail in Canada. Like, pretty wild. Anyways, thank you guys. Appreciate you.